I was born and raised in the sand hills of West Texas, in the land where the grass gets only beer can tall. That's where I learned to cuss and fight, shoe brown mule or backer. I could fix windmills before I was 5 years old. I've rode every head of stock from the Gulf to Kansas City, and running wild is all I've ever known.
There's nothing better than a good horse under you. It's quiet out there, and the cows will howl once in a while, and dogs will bark, but that don't bother me. You look out just as far as I can see, and you see country. And I don't know, that's just my life. Can't change me.
Oh, sure, you get tired from work, but you never get tired of riding a good horse. Well, like I say, I was just raised on a horse, and that's all I know. All I wanted to know, really. I started cowboying in '43.
Just like yesterday, I knew what we was going to do, and that's the reason I picked that big sorrel horse. And I rode him again this morning because I knew what was going to do, and I knew he was going to booger. Then you know your horses, they know you. So you pick your horses according to what you're going to do.
I think the horse is the most important thing on the ranch. If you didn't have a good horse, you sure wouldn't gather any cattle. You couldn't work them after you got them together. I think this is one of the best remudas in the state of Texas. Say 100 head of horses thrown together where you can go catch, or any number of horses to go rope, brand, cut, or whatever you want to do.
If we can find out what we're going to do that day, well, we'll call for that horse. But most of the time, why, straw boss or the boss is supposed to catch your horse for you.
You've got to throw it high and let it drop flat.
Because we do have good horses, we've been able to keep good men. A cowboy, that's one of the prime pieces of equipment. And a horse is one of our most vital tools to work in a ranch of this size, or most any size.
We get up in the morning, we got something to look forward to. We go down there, we catch our horses and saddle up, and we'll head out to where we're going to work. And it's just something to look forward to every morning.
We'll go to the horse lot, either rustle horses. They'll go down, saddle up, and then we'll leave by daylight, usually every morning. We load up in a pickup and maybe work on the north side this morning and work the south end this afternoon. There's just really no comparison to now and 30 years ago what it was. It's mobilized, you might say. Well, cowboying and cattle raising and ranching has kept pace with the rest of the world. You still need a horse. I think a horse will always be in the service to the ranch, no matter how much you mobilize it.
With the advent of the gooseneck trailer and now using helicopter, with all of these changes, we still got to have horses and cowboys. We calve both in the spring and in the fall, and then we'll start weaning in the late summer, early fall. The calves that we wean this fall, we will winter them here, and then we'll take those steers, the main body of them are moved to Wyoming, and we usually try to get up there around May the 10th.
Well, we've got 163,000 acres. We've got between 5,000 and 6,000 mother cows. You have to have a a liking for horses and cattle and being outside and not getting shut up on inside. You just, well, I couldn't be shut up in the house, really.
I guess what I like best is when you work in spring work or fall work, when you work in cattle. I like to ride good horses and I like to work cattle, so I just stayed with it.
But I'm happy when I'm out working out with cattle and horses. I love them.
Just all phases of it that has anything to do with a horse or a cow. Well, it's part of my job to see that it's done.
Well, it does. You know, if you weather, it's awful hot and dusty. And more cattle, of course, more cattle you got thrown together, the dustier it's going to be. But it'll make your eyes bloodshot and look like you've been drunk or something. But it'll all wash out when you get home. In the spring, if it hadn't rained all winter, and first thing when in the fall, if it hadn't rained or had no moisture, them old lots they sure get dusty. And you fill up with dust. And, you know, it's just another one of those things that go with the job if that's what you're going to do. You just learn to live with it more or less.
So we send these light calves anywhere from the 10th to the 20th in Wyoming. When we get them in the pen, we strip the cows off of the calves, and we'll have cows in one pen and the calves in another one.
We used to move these cattle by rail and round them up. Everything was done horseback. Drove them about 2 days to the railroad north up here at Narcissus, which is between Matador and Paducah. And it was on a small scale like the old trail drives. I mean, it took a lot of manpower, a lot of horsepower, and load them on rail cars, shipped them to various places. And then when we bought the Wyoming property in the 50s, we'd have whole trains of cattle going up there. And we're still doing that, but now we move them by truck and can leave here, and they're up there. If we leave here by noon, they'll be unloaded at daylight in the morning.
Now we come in whenever you get through. I mean, your dinner is, you may call it lunch, but we call it dinner here. If we're working, we just can't turn loose, you know, at a certain time or something. But normally we try to get in by 12. We usually take off about an hour for lunch and go back at 1.
Put the heifers in the water out on there? Yeah. Well, half of them drove them up there a while, I think. George, gonna be busy tomorrow?
I was sitting around town, I was wasting my time. Out of a nickel, not a making the dime. A fella steps up and he says, I suppose you're a bronc rider from the looks of your clothes. Well, he guesses me right, a good one I claim. You don't happen to have any wild ones to tame.
We bring a iron cold into a round corral, And then we have a little crowding pen, a gate opening out of this round corral into a crowding pen, where we put her in there, and then we have a chute from this crowding pen. And we run the mare and the colt into the chute, let the mare go one way, put a halter on the colt, and let the colt out the other way. They have never been handled, so we have a halter and a lead shank of about 10 or 12 foot. And you let him out with a man's on the end of that lead shank. We use mostly cotton rope because it's soft and it doesn't burn your hands as bad as nylon does, or grass rope. So you get several jerks when you let one of those little colts out of the crowding pen where it's never been handled before. And it doesn't take 15 or 20 minutes, or you can be up to that colt's side and walk around with him. We don't try to just take off and lead the colt or drag him or anything. It's best to get up beside of him and maybe catch hold of your halter and put your arm over his back, and then wherever he goes, will you go. And it's a pretty good race sometimes, but it seems to work good for us.
If you could get his head up a little closer here, Benny. Now you're cooking. That lower lip. Okay. Now if you can turn him to the side where I can get that other side pretty good.
Well, they break these horses sure enough gentle. And as soon as you kind of get them where you can handle them, well, you can go on with them pretty good.
She lies asleep in the snow-capped peaks of the Bighorns and Yellowstone. She sings to me of sad memories and the days when the buffalo roamed. A white-faced cow is grazing now in the land where the longhorn trod. And a red-skinned man has a calloused hand from turning Oklahoma sod.
Well, when you're up moving cattle up there in the mountains or just checking them, you have to get out early in the morning, around, say, like first 2 hours of daylight when it's nice and cool. And the cattle stay out, you can see them all. So you have to usually get up before light, get your horse ready, and have breakfast and be ready to go as soon as the sun starts to come up, and give you enough time to cover the whole range before it starts getting hot and they start going back into the trees. In some places there are 3 or 4 ranches that run their cattle together, and others it's just one ranch. Right around here, we 2 different outfits. They have like total about 400 head of cattle up on this one permit. Well, when you're up here with like your dog and a couple horses, you're not really alone. You got somebody you can trust and know when they're going to help you and when you're going to get you in trouble with them. But they're more dependable than a lot of people that you could have working with you.
And now I love to gaze at the color change of the pine and aspen trees, or to smell the rain on her sun-baked plains with a good horse between my knees.
Mainly what I'm up here to do is keep them from overgrazing one particular area. Just keep them well salted, make sure, take care of the sick cattle and keep them from using one spot too much. And when you look for bad eyes or foul foot, make sure they have enough salt, and if you find a few of your neighbor's cattle in, try to get them back in the right place. And good feeling to be out riding around the cattle or sitting by a stream fishing. It's a lot of fun. Every once in a while you meet a couple people you'd talk to for a while, and you're just mainly by yourself and nice quiet surroundings. It's a lot better feeling to be living up here, sort of a nice clean life, than living in a city or even a small town. It's much different and much harder and better for you in a lot of ways. And it's a lot more fun. It's always nice to have a good, clean, warm cabin to come back to if you're stay out riding, get in after dark. It's not that hard to cook once you get the stove going, and sometimes you feel like cooking a steak, and sometimes you just feel like eating a can of beans or a bowl of cereal or something. And it's just, as long as the dog and the horses get fed, and you can eat whatever you feel like. Well, when it starts turning a little bit cooler and the grass starts getting a little short, and you get more deer and elk coming down from the high country, it's about time for the snow to start and time to get the cattle out before the first snow, and you get a bunch stuck back in here. Like either the whole family or everyone that works on the place takes a couple days and comes up to the mountains.
We can go out on Rapid Creek tomorrow and bring them all the way down to Powerpy Flat and upper teepee pasture. Well, after we get the rest of that stuff moved, we'll go ahead and gather them all. So we just will go get them now. All right?
He's hung his old saddle up high in the barn. He's made her promise that his cowboying is done. Said I've won them big buckles, done all I can do. Now I'm ready to spend my last years here with you. Said we'll break out them flatlands, ain't been plowed for you.
Well, in these days, it's not the most exciting way of life you could have, but it's probably one of the nicest things you can do. And it doesn't have all the hassle and it doesn't have all the excitement, but it's a lot different from what's going on now, and it's more like what's been going on in the past.
It's something that we look forward to. It's making those big drives. But you'll see some man up on the hill somewhere moving, well, you'll know to move on up then and the drive is done going. It's very interesting. You see those cattle going down the draws and cattle trying to get away, and overall it's something that keeps that you're looking to all the time. Like your cattle right on the roundup, there's something about seeing them cattle come together and how they work, and they don't work the same every time. You got to try to outsmart them, to these wild cattle that we got here especially, because you're going out there to see how many you can get and try to get to all of them. There's nothing more prettier in the world than the baby calf, white-faced calf.
Well, I think the helicopter is the most help that's ever been on the range, especially in the brush country. And we have a lot of rough country, a lot of breaks, and a lot of brush. And with the helicopter, you just gather, I'd say you gather 99% of your cattle every time you go out. in a pasture with less effort than you would with a bunch of men. You would think that they would be scared and run, but they just go a little ways and they'll stop, look around, and then you can get them to drifting. Well, they just keep a-walking.
Oh, you get aggravated, you know, put in a long day. There's always something that'll compensate it. Come in tired and mad and gonna quit, and have to take a bath, go to bed, and the next morning just can't wait to get back down there and catch another horse.
Our ranches is here to stay for a long time yet. And I don't think be a time that we won't need a good horse. It's no romance in it. It's hard work, but it's something that you enjoy from the time you get on the horse until you come in at night. I wouldn't really trade lives with a banker. I'll be 64 in September. I think I'll live a pretty ripe life.
I don't know, I guess getting out and getting the fresh air and just getting up early and roping, cutting, it's something different every day.
Cowboys are born, they're not made. They're just like a cutting horse. You can get some horses and work with them till they're dead at old age and never make a cutting horse. They're born, they're not made. That's just been my life all the way through. I had to live over again, just do it the same way I did. Because I like it. I'm just gonna put it over, I like it.
I hear the ghostly sound of a cannon round as she sets her people free. Brave men died to protect her rights, make a place for you and me. Brave men made America great, just look what they have done. And I'm proud to say that the Lord has made me one of America's sons. And now I love to gaze at the color change in the hills of Tennessee, or to smell the rain on her sun-baked plains with a good horse between my knees.